So I understand there is a new remaster of some of my favorite Game Boy Advance games, Advance Wars and Advance Wars 2 Black Hole Rising. It's called Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp and is coming out sometime this year, I guess? I don't know, apparently it was going to be released earlier in 2022, but was delayed for whatever reason. Now, I first became aware of this series because of the first Advance Wars game on the Game Boy Advance. I played it on an emulator, and it really just struck a chord with me. So naturally, when I learned that a sequel was coming out, I was ready with my money in hand to buy it.
Shut up and take my money!
So Advance Wars is a turn-based strategy game that I like to describe as an expanded game of chess. Your goal is to conquer the map by building units, capturing cities to gain funding, and using the appropriate strategies to defeat your enemy. You can win a map by either destroying all the enemy units or capturing their headquarters. The units you can build are the infantry, which is a ground-based group of guys who can capture cities and factories. The mech, which is a stronger version of the infantry, but with rocket-propelled grenades. The recon, which are basically jeeps that can move fast and scout ahead, but are weak against anything but infantry. The tank, which is great for taking out infantry, mechs, and other ground-based units. The medium tank, which is a stronger version of the tank. The anti-air vehicle, which is great for taking out infantry, mechs, and aircraft. The artillery, which has no defense if attacked, but can launch ordnance against ground and sea targets. Rockets, which are a much stronger version of the artillery. Missiles, which are great for attacking air targets only. The APC is used to shuttle infantry and mechs around the map quickly, and can also supply other units with fuel and ordnance. It's hard to destroy, but it has no defensive abilities. Then you have the sea-based unit, starting with the lander, which is used to move ground-based units over the water. The submarine, which can hide underwater and not be seen, and is great for attacking landers and battleships. The cruiser, which is used to destroy submarines and helicopters. And the battleship, which is similar to the rockets, but it's on the ocean and can launch ordnance against ground and sea targets. Then we have the air unit, starting with the transport copter, which is kind of like an APC. It's used to move infantry and mechs around and has no offensive abilities. The battle copter, which can attack any type of unit, but it's weak against anti-air vehicles, cruisers, and fighter jets. The fighter jet, which can only attack other air units. And lastly, the bomber, which drops bombs on ground and sea-based units, but it's weak against anti-air, cruisers, and fighter jets. And then in Advance Wars 2, they added the Neo tank, which is really a third level tank. It's very powerful and can move further than the others. Now, each of these units cost money to create and maintain. Obviously, the more powerful the unit, the more it costs. Each time a unit moves or attacks, it loses a bit of fuel or ordnance. This can be resupplied by stopping on a city or a factory, or if it's next to an APC. Battling the enemy is the most enjoyable part of the game, and it helps to know which unit does better against others. Of course, obviously a tank is just going to annihilate an infantry unit, and an anti-aircraft is just going to annihilate a copter. I mean, that's pretty basic. Each unit starts with 10 points and will get reduced after a battle. The points can be brought back up to +2 each turn if it's on a city or a factory. Capturing a city takes 20 units or points, which is basically 2 turns of an infantry or a mech. Of course, if your unit is less than 10, let's say 5, it will take a lot longer to capture the city or the factory. So it's best to only capture them with fully powered units. In addition to the units, the commanding officer you choose has certain abilities that can help you win the battle. For example, Andy has repair abilities and Max has strength abilities. The strategy element of the game is really enjoyable. Trying to figure out how to protect a particular unit so that it can capture an HQ, or thinking of the fastest way to take out a tank battalion, or blocking the enemy units with an APC. It's really, as I said, an expanded version of chess. So I played through both of the original games and got pretty good at it. Heck, I even got my son into playing them, and we had a blast creating maps and battling each other. Oh yeah, the second game comes with a map editor. Then much later, I came to find out that this series actually started on the original Nintendo Famicom in Japan, where it was called Famicom Wars. Tanks versus infantry, that ain't gonna work. No matter what game you're playing. Now, I'm just letting the computer play itself because I couldn't understand any of the Japanese in the game to, you know, tell me where to move and stuff, so I figured out how to make the computer play against itself. One thing I don't understand is the little E and the T's next to each of the units. In the later games, it's numbers, so you know how strong that particular unit is. More tanks versus infantry. I like the way they're animated inside, like they're down in the ground like that. That's kind of neat. Although, they wouldn't exactly be dug into the ground in the road, would they? Also, I find it interesting that this map is like the map that shows up in all of the Advance Wars games. I think it's called Bean Island, and it originated all the way back here in this original Famicom Wars game. This game seems a little bit slower than the later games, and I think it's because the computer is processing what it's going to do next. That just takes a little bit longer. And I do like the colors on this version of the game, it's pretty nice. Only wish that there was an English patch for this game. Maybe there is. Maybe I should go look on romhacking.net and see if there's an English patch for Famicom Wars. It would be fun to play this on my NES. The next game in the series was called Gameboy Wars. I wonder which system that's for. So this version of the game shows a little bit of potential. I really like the battle animation. I think that looks better than it does on the NES. But I don't really care for the way the grid is laid out. It's not square, it's all offset. Which, if you're gonna do that, maybe you should just do it in a hexagon shape instead of square shaped. And of course, being on the Game Boy, the colors are just very drab. Who wants to look at black and white when they're playing this game? Again, I see the E is back there on top of the units. I have no idea what that even means. So between this and the Famicom version, I think I'd go with the Famicom version. But I gotta say, that little battle animation is awesome. Then came Super Famicom Wars for the, the Super Famicom in Japan. This one was actually playable for me, and it's almost as good as the Advance Wars games. I like that little animation when they go flying off the screen. That's pretty funny. Now, I thought those were recons, but I guess maybe they're tanks? Maybe they are recons. Maybe it's different sprites for different armies. This one I'm actually playing. I was able to figure out how to get the game started without letting the computer do everything. I just guessed at which commands were which inside of those Japanese letters there. And I figured that bottom option on the menu was, end your turn, just like it is in the Advance Wars game, and it is. This little animation of lifting the flag was kind of annoying. I wished I could have turned that off. Tanks versus recons, I guess, and they just got annihilated. I like that little animation up top when they lose. Watch this, they're just gonna get totally slaughtered. Oh, there's a stalemate for you. That didn't do much. So I figured I'd try to go up here and take this factory. Next in the series, of course, is Advance Wars and Advance Wars 2, Black Hole Rising for the Game Boy Advance. And then after that, the series retained the name Advance Wars when it appeared on the Nintendo DS, but it was called Advance Wars Dual Strike. Get it? Dual Strike, DS, Dual Strike, whatever. And then the final game of the series is called Advance Wars Days of Ruin for the DS. Probably the most sophisticated of the bunch, even though the graphics are more realistic and less colorful than the other games. So it's been a long time in waiting for the next game, and fans who love the series have gone ahead and created a website called Advance Wars by Web, which allows you to play against your friends anywhere in the world. It's totally free and no downloads are necessary, so check it out if you're interested. Now, this Advance Wars update on the Switch is the first game we've had since 2008's Days of Ruin, so needless to say, I'm excited for its release. Maybe if it sells enough copies, we'll get a completely new game, or maybe even a remake of Dual Strike and Days of Ruin for the Switch. That would be great too. So what do you think of Advance Wars? Have you ever played it and have become addicted to it like I have? Whatever the case, let me know down in the comments. I thank you for watching. Take care, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Mission